Welcome back, folks. Today I want to share info about a new Sony 67 megapixel full frame sensor that could be launched on the market this year and could be used on future Sony, but also Leica cameras and other cameras, because this is a sensor not for exclusive use for Sony. So not only Sony will have cameras with this sensor, but also others. And it's going to be a very interesting sensor, and maybe it's going to be the one used on the Sony a7R6, but I don't know as of yet for certain, but I have the specs and I'm certain about the specs. And I will also give you a teaser. Some of you don't like teasers, but I'm working on something exciting regarding Sony, because there will be an exciting camera announcement very soon. Of course, there was a registration in Asia, and so we knew a camera was coming, but now I know, at least from one trusted source, what kind of camera to expect. I'm awaiting a confirmation from other sources, and as soon as I can, I will make a new video. But if the camera model is confirmed, it's quite an exciting model that will be announced very soon by Sony. Along the lenses, I already teased you many times that finally are coming in between April and June. So it's going to be an interesting time for Sony. But today we will talk about this sensor. And first of all, I kindly invite you to like this video to help in the YouTube algorithm, and obviously subscribe to the channel, hit the notification button to not miss any of the upcoming exciting videos. In my recent videos, I gave you exclusive info about two new sensors coming from Sony. First of all, a new 180 megapixel sensor for the medium format cameras like the Fujifilm, Hasselblad and so forth. And this one is likely to be announced end of the year, and probably first cameras from Fujifilm, Hasselblad with this sensor will be announced in 2027 at the earliest. But I'm sure this sensor is real and it's coming. You can bet on it that I will be right. That is an exclusive info shared first. So 180 megapixel medium format sensor. Then a couple of weeks ago I told you about a new 60 megapixel full frame sensor, something more cine focused that could find its way on the FX32, but I don't have a confirmation if this will be used by the FX32 or the FX32 will use different version of the same kind of technology, because this is a 60 megapixel partially stacked sensor that will be available also for third-party manufacturers, so not only for Sony, and maybe Sony prefers to be exclusive and go for example, for an 80 megapixel partially stacked sensor, but this 60 megapixel partially stacked sensor is super fast, ideal for cine work, and it's coming also this year. Now I have an info about the third sensor. This one is interesting because it could find its way in the Sony a7R6, but I have no confirmation, it's just a speculation, but the specs are really cool. This 67 megapixel sensor would again have a new partially stacked sensor, so same tech like the 60 megapixel partially stacked sensor that is coming, same tech as the a7 IV that has a partially stacked sensor, but with an upgrade, and a more advanced version, and it's pretty exciting. But let's read the specs of this sensor. 67 megapixel, 60 frames per second readout, so not as fast as the 60 megapixel partially stacked sensor I talked about weeks ago, obviously because it has more megapixels, but still fast enough for a camera like the a7R6 or other cameras that could use this sensor. Then it has 10K 30p. I don't know if it's really something you absolutely want, but on paper it can do it. It can do 8K 60p, which is really important, so it has usable 8K, and obviously also 4K 120p. Unclear if there's crop or no crop with 4K 120p, but it can do those kind of recordings. The sensor can do it. Doesn't mean that the manufacturer will then enable those recording modes and automatically in the camera that eventually will use this sensor. It has high-speed AF, super high-speed AD, and here comes the interesting info. It has DCG HDR, which is a tech that is used on the Leica sensors, and I already told you that also 60 megapixel sensor will have this, and basically this is a more advanced tech than we see on the Sony a7 V, which is the DGO tech. The DGO tech on the Sony a7 V combines two informations. One, to give you high dynamic range when using mechanical shutter, and the high dynamic range only works in stills and at low to mid ISO. This new DCG tech would give you HDR on both stills and the video, so you have high dynamic range for both formats. It would also give you high dynamic range in both mechanical and electronic shutter, because the E7 V can have this high dynamic range mode only with mechanical shutter. This is way more flexible to use. Just imagine having a 67 megapixel full frame camera with the near one-stop dynamic range boost with Sony E7 V, but across a multitude of views, video, stills, electronic shutter and mechanical shutter would make it very terrific camera in my opinion. From what I heard, the mass production of this sensor will kick off now, so this first half of 2026. Doesn't mean that the cameras will be announced in early 2026, could be also announced in summer or later, and then use this sensor. This is a sensor made not only for Sony use, but for every manufacturer that wants to buy it. So it's not an exclusive sensor like, for example, the Sony E7 V that I know is exclusive for Sony use until 2027. So in 2027, Nikon, Canon, and others can also buy this sensor, but for now, Sony, the 33 megapixel partially stacked sensor is Sony, and exclusive for Sony. This would not be exclusive, but we know also that the Sony E7R V uses a 61 megapixel sensor that is not exclusive to Sony. Sigma FPL uses it. A couple of Leica cameras, the Leica Q3, the Leica M11, the SL3 do use this sensor. Then also some astrophotography cameras and so forth. So might be that the Sony A7R V 6 uses this sensor, but I'm still not sure about this. Maybe they will decide to go for their own megapixel partially stacked version. That could be 80 megapixel, maybe something like this. Let me know please in the comment section what you think about this sensor, if this would be a kind of update you would love to get on your Sony A7R6. I have the Sony A7R V with 61 megapixel. I'm not really looking forward to have more megapixels. It's plenty enough, and I think the improvements in dynamic range and speed of this the new sensor will make it would make the E7R6 a great camera if it uses this sensor. But still not sure that this is the one coming in the camera that will be announced in 2026. So in 2026 we're getting Sony A7R6, that's for sure. But I don't know if this is a sensor or maybe something else. Now, if you have some info about the upcoming Sony announcement, but also Panasonic has still one more camera to be announced. They did announce the TZ300 compact camera, but they did register two cameras in Asia, so there's one more camera coming. But also more cameras from Canon, Nikon, and Fujifilm will be announced close to summer. And if you have some info about those cameras and lenses, you can contact me using this email address and contact form. And again, a reminder about the teaser. I'm very close to have the 100% confirmation about this Sony camera that will be announced soon. I also have some info about when it will be announced and what it is. I'm awaiting confirmation because I don't want to miss this rumor, otherwise you will really get mad on me and you will unsubscribe if I'm wrong. But this is an exclusive rumor that nobody shared as of yet, and if confirmed, it's an exciting model. So not a boring model, but something really to look forward, and our sources already giving me hints about the camera coming after this, which is also exciting if confirmed. So finally, the boring time after the Sony A7 V launch for 5 months, we didn't get anything from Sony. Now that boring time pause is over, and in the next videos you will see and hear from me exciting news that's very likely to happen very soon, okay? So stay tuned folks, and see you very soon.